Hello and welcome to the video on development of Platinum Sword. I'm the main developer Matthew, and
I'm Paul. I've done almost all of the audio and some minor things in the actual development.
to start off with, you can probably hear the title screen music, which is it's a sort of fantasy sounding track that it's royalty free, that we felt was very fitting for the fantasy side of the game compared to its cyberpunk side.
And it was nice and calm, so it was fitting for the type of main menu we were going for.
And next off, you can see you've got 4 options on the title screen here. You've got with quick game being red, to make you think of like a red X on a program. Here with the control menu, we have it just tells you all the controls basically. I don't know how else to add to that. Next up, we have the credits, and this was implemented by Paul. I'll let him talk about it.
The credits, they're surprisingly simple. It's just an image with an animation applied to it that slowly slides up. It took a while to find a speed that we're comfortable with, and it's also got control, I guess, to allow it to read the space input from the player and return to the main menu.
Yeah, we also have in there all of the assets that we used credited, as well as a few special things we felt were needed. So if I hit space here and I go to begin game, we can start the game. This is a tutorial. The player gets upon intro. We felt like tutorials should be a bit more personality driven, so we made it an AI called Sarah, who tells you their opinions on a lot of the tutorial stuff. We'll get to that in a second, but to begin with, you can hear the the synthwave track that we felt goes with the cyberpunk aesthetic. Next up is the UI that the player's given. So we have a health bar, which is controlled in a script with a static health variable that, depending on the where it's at, will affect the fill amount of the health bar, so it will go down when the player takes damage. If the player takes is lower than 50% health, it will turn yellow, and if it gets lower than 25% health, it will turn red to let the player know that they're in danger. Next to that is the scoring system. The score will increase by 50 when a small enemy is destroyed, and increase by 100 if a big enemy is destroyed. We'll get to talking about the enemies later. Finally, up there is the lives, with 4 on the player's start. This lets the player respawn, obviously, when they die. When they run out of lives, it will send them to a game over screen. Next up, we have pause menu. The pause menu gives the player 4 options, with a little noise attached to it when open and closed. I'll let Paul explain how he got that effect.
The noise was created with just me recording opening and closing a paper map, which it was one of the, I think it's the only sound that got put into the game without any modification to it.
So next up are all these options, with restart level doing exactly that, but reducing the player's lives by 1. The main menu will take the player to the main menu. Resume game is in green to let them know that is to go, and red for quit game to let them know that quits the game. Oh, oops. Next up is the controls. So here you get a little tutorial telling the controls. They're also on the title screen, as I mentioned before. So you got WASD for smooth turning. You have K for a light attack that can be used quite quickly. The K attack will only sometimes cause stagger, whereas the J attack is a strong attack and deals quite a lot of damage and staggers, but can't be spammed as much. Space is a hop that the player can use with movement to hop areas, and the arrow keys are strafes to let the player strafe whilst attacking. So I can run backwards whilst attacking in case an enemy gets me cornered. Next up is the purple gems, or the tutorial gems. When collected, these bring up the tutorial. This one is for the health. You heard the little noise for both of them. We sort of wanted to keep the sound effects for that quite retro inspired, right?
Yeah. So in the creation of it, I used another open source software named BFXR, which is just designed to create retro sound effects.
Also with, sort of glossed over with the health, it restores 50% on contact using an on-trigger enter method attached to it on a script. It rotates, and if it's collected when the player has full health, it just destroys itself rather than causing any issues. Next up is the gem on a life. This has an animation attached to it with a little 1-up sign rising above, like it's a Mario 1-up. The life has quite a jovial sounding sound effect, just because it's a life, it's the best thing you can get in the game. Here we have Morphine, which is a fake health restore. With this, a little skull comes out of it every few seconds, as well as it being green and rotating a different direction. The thing about Morphine is it is the most damaging thing in the game. It damages you for 25 health, so it's a big obstacle for the player. Next up is a star point checkpoint. Whenever the player dies, once that's collected, they'll respawn where they collected it. That's done using a switch command with the respawn method. Next up, we have the speed up power up. This will speed the player up, but anything that would slow them down, such as attacking or an upcoming obstacle, will return their speed to normal, as well as time will return their speed to normal. Next up are these barrels. These contain items, such as a speed up. We accomplished this using a state machine, along with an animation that makes the barrel indent. Next up, if I get the checkpoint, here we have the skeleton. He's currently playing his idle animation, and if I get within range of him, he'll chase me down. Skeletons are quick, small, but don't take a lot of damage. So, 2 strong attacks or 3 light attacks will kill a skeleton. So, as you were saying, Paul?
While he was doing that, I was just going to say all the enemies have a drop table, which it's completely RNG what you actually get whenever they die, which lives are actually the rarest drop.
So I got quite lucky there. Next up we have orcs. These are our strongest enemies and take 3 hits with strong attacks or 5 regular attacks. They're slower, but hit much harder, since they have a 1-2 punch attack. I got really lucky there, I got another life. Huh. Next up is Orc Mud. This stuff will slow the player down. This is the obstacle I was talking about before. It will also gimp their jump. Players can mitigate this by jumping through it. Next up we've got a little fight with... Oh, you're... No. Thank goodness I nearly died there. Checkpoint. So next up, we got the motorway. These cars will hit you if you let them. I'm at really low health, so I kinda don't want to let them hit me. Right here is the final tutorial gem. With Sarah saying, "Thanks for being of service." And this is the key that'll take you to the next level. It has a nice little sound effect attached. How did you create that sound effect?
That sound effect was created in a separate open source software, Bosca Key Oil, which is open source and just designed for creating retro music. It was actually created by someone who's made many retro games.
So here we're in the next level. This is the Bridge Battleground level. It's got its own track, as you can hear starting in the background there. This is the main level that's currently in the game. Behind here is an optional fight with an orc that I'm not going to do because it's optional. But basically, you break those barrels, and in there he's got a barrel with something inside it. You don't know until you fight him. That skeleton dropped a speed up power up for me. Skeletons tend to have much further look radiuses to orcs, and because they're faster, they're much more annoying. You can see a ton more debris around this level. It's supposed to be as though the orcs and skeletons have came in and trashed the place. Speaking of trash, this orc is between two garbage dumpsters. Killed him. This is an example of a morphine hurdle, where the player has to jump over it, because as I said, it's the strongest attack in the game. It will kill, or will deal 25 damage, which is half of a health restore.
4 in a row is instant death.
Next up, we have a little fight with 2 more orcs. If I can goad only one into a fight, that'd be much nicer. You can hear when attacking the orcs, Paul's sound effect, or, as I know it, Paul.
Yeah, all of the, I guess, just the noises that the player makes and the orcs make are actually using my voice, which is being modified. I don't remember the exact process for either of them, because there's a lot of things I've done to them. Which he claims he can perfectly hear it as me. I don't see it, however.
Next up, we got another skeleton. Oh, he dropped the health restore, that was nice of him. Another thing, the player when attacking is slowed. They don't move nearly as fast. Behind here, we have a hidden speed up. This guy's annoying me. Pick up some health here. We've got the first example of mandatory morphine hurdles. And next up is our first platforming challenge. Now, if a player thinks to immediately come over and break this barrel and see if there's anything inside, they'll do themselves out of getting up here. If I go up here, it's a down lorry, so you can see the other part of the lorry over there. If I break this barrel, if the barrel would break, you know what, the barrel would normally break. There we go. I just wasn't in the right position. It will drop a life. Next.
The thing to note is that you can't get up there even if you hit the barrel in the right only once.
But now I'm stuck. That's unfortunate. Next up, we have a little split pathway. The player can choose to either destroy these barrels or jump up on this. Get some health back, and they have to fight some more orcs. Oh! Ah, they killed me. Players can be boxed in by enemies because they're actual enemies. You wouldn't be able to get away from them. I'll pick up that life to bring myself back. Don't mind me,
thing
guys.
that
I'm just going back to where I died.
the
Oh,
thing
come
about
on,
the split
fellas.
pathway that he just died at is that you can actually jump over the barrels there. That's what I usually do when playing through.
Up here, I can get
But I
another
just
life.
hate jumping in the barrels.
And I can avoid those guys. And here we have a little arrow. Some players felt that the debris was not
Clear
enough.
enough.
Well, yeah, it was not clear enough to show them to go up. So we got a little arrow there that shows them that yeah, you're supposed to go up. So climb up here. This is another lorry. And if I fall down, if you fall down too slow, you'll pick up one of those morphanes. The morphane animation and all of the UI sprites, apart from the life icon, was done by me. And Pascal, which is an online pixel art creator. So here we have the first mud fights. So we start the player off with a skeleton. Something weak. Oh, and here's another thing. You get a speed up power up in mud, and it will mitigate the effects of the mud.
Until you jump.
Yes, if you jump, you're done. So come over here, another barrel. Get another life that I don't need. Hello there, fella. Oh, thanks for the speed up. This is another split pathway. We felt split pathways were a good way to vary up level design and add to replayability. So up here, the player can choose to jump over. There's also invisible walls here to prevent any cheating, but the player can jump over here into another mud section and fight that orc for whatever's in that barrel. Or they can do these morphine jumps, which I'm going to do.
A thing that Matthew didn't mention, that's actually a three-way split pathway because while it's difficult to do, you can actually platform over the trucks on the left from the barrels. It is quite difficult and very tedious though.
Next up, we have a little fortressy area where the player has to fight 4 enemies, which is the biggest amount at once if the player's been fighting everything. Ooh, you're dealing a lot of damage to me. Mr. Skeleton, please don't kill me. I believe the skeleton effect was made by Keys, wasn't it?
Yeah, part of the sound effect was made with just ice in a glass of water, and part of the, I think it was the heart noises keys. Actually, not the entire heart noises keys.
That'll give me some more health. Here we're coming up to the next checkpoint, which is... It's fairly more obvious you're supposed to platform the debris here, but we added another arrow just to let the player know for sure. It's another down lorry with some dumpsters stacked up, as if the orcs were trying to stop me from going any further.
Yeah, barricade of sorts.
Next, oh well, maybe I shouldn't fall. Maybe that'd be smart. If I jump down here, this is another split pathway where the player can either continue over those vans or attempt some more morphine jumps with a speed power up. And now that I've jumped over here, the mud prevents me from going back. So all those healths are off the table. Here we have another...
I've tried many times. As far as we're aware, there is no method to get back, and I have tried many non-intentional things to get that.
We haven't mentioned before, but enemies are controlled using a nav mesh agent, so they can't actually go through any nav mesh obstacles, which are anything like the dumpsters to the barrels. Enemies will have to go around them, which gives the player a bit of an advantage. Here I can jump onto this car to get up further into the mud before fighting these guys. If I get over here, I can fight them outside of the mud. Well, speed power up. It's not going to really help me. As I said, not all light attacks stagger enemies. Got another barrel here with some health in it, and another arrow telling the player to go up. So you climb over this as another down glory. Down beneath me is a pit that will kill the player if they fall in. So now I grab this speed up and we run over the motorway. And over here is an idiot orc who goes onto the motorway and gets hit by the cars to show the player going onto the motorway is really dangerous. Oh, I aggroed too many of them at once.
No, your earlier comment was actually wrong, because this section has 5 enemies at once.
I meant so far.
Yeah.
Ah! This will be much easier to deal with. There we go. So we jump up here onto this motorway. As I said before, these are controlled using nav meshes as well, and they just go towards a set target. But the wall in the way will keep resetting them, and that's how we give the effect of multiple cars. So I should run because they'll hurt me. I can show you, car will hurt for 20 health, so it's still less than Morphine. And here we have the key to the end of the level. So if I click that, it plays the little sound effect we described before. Then it plays the credits. We do have to say, Craig, he made the initial prototype of this game, so a lot of this game wouldn't exist without him, so thanks to him for that. And that is Platinum Sword. I hope you enjoyed it.